Okay, lovely. Thank you very much. Right, okay. It's 1 minute past 11, so I'm going to kick off swiftly because I know you are all so incredibly busy at the moment. So thank you all for taking the time to join us today. We really wanted to take this opportunity to share the new handbook with you. And what we didn't want to happen was what I tend to do with my tax return every year is file it away somewhere and hope that a little fairy will do it. A magic fairy will do my tax return for me. And then last minute, I get it out again and think, oh my gosh, it's the deadline date. So thank you so much for joining us today so that we've got the opportunity to take you through our new handbook. Today, the presentation was going to be made by John, who has actually amended the handbook for us, but unfortunately, he's had a death, a very close death in the family, so he can't be with us today. So I'll be taking you through the presentation. I will make it short, and if you have any questions, do please either ask as we go along or at the end. Hilary will be keeping an eye out for hands up or just shout out, and we'll take the questions as we go along. Okay, so the first thing to say, sorry, just going back. The first thing to say is why have we amended the handbook? It was basically from feedback from yourselves, from members, to say that it's a confusing handbook. There's a lot of information in there, but the information is scattered all over the place. So John has taken a lot of time and a lot of investigation in how he can re-navigate or redo the contents so that it's easier for you to navigate through. So it's important to say that we haven't made any major operational changes. That's not what it's about. This is all about making the handbook easier for you to use in going forward. And why have we launched it now? Well, we thought this was a good time, that it's post-COVID. We are thankful to see bookings coming back and tours operating again. And we know that many companies have got lots of new staff in as well. So this was a good time for us to get the handbook out there to you, for you to be able to have a look through it again and just refamiliarize yourself as to the requirements for the STF and the responsibilities that you have with regards to the school travel form and the LOTC quality badge. So taking you through some of the changes, you now have a nice little letter in the front from me, but this is just basically re-outlining what the objectives are of the STF. I know you all know, but again, if you have new staff, it's just good for them to be able to read this and remind themselves what the objectives are. But it's also quite good for when you're talking to third parties and other stakeholders who don't quite get what the STF is all about. This is quite a nice way for you to be able to instruct them in that. So, as I said, there haven't been any operational changes. So the things that you would need to do when you're going out, checking hotels or coaches, etc., etc. It was more about making it easier to use. But we have made a couple of changes within the membership rules. And these are in section 2 of the handbook. And there's two major changes. One is this first one in section 2, and that we've included in there now that there's members are required at all times to ensure, that their staff are fully familiar with the STF's rules and handbook information and requirements. Do not behave or operate their businesses unfairly, improperly, or in a way that might bring the STF, its members, or its key stakeholders into disrepute, and follow all relevant statutory and regulatory requirements. So this isn't anything new. This is really just bringing together everything that's all in the handbook And as a real reminder to members that the reason why it's there is to protect both the STF, the sector, and each other as members within this sector. The second change, and the biggest change of all, is that after feedback from members with regards to financial protection, more flexibility around financial protection, and APTA membership being mandatory, the STF committee reviewed membership of APTA, and further information will be going out to everybody as to the reasons why we've decided to allow membership of APTA. But immediately you can now be an APTA member or an APTA member, or both. We do have some members that are both APTA and APTA members at the moment, but some people may want to look at now becoming members of APTA. And as you know, APTA is about financial protection. So it means that that's a new channel for you to get your financial protection through. So that's the biggest change of all in this handbook. Is there any questions around that at all before I move on? As I said, we will be sending out a little bit more information later about it, and APTA will be holding an online webinar for the STF members to basically outline the pros and cons, or mainly the pros, of being a member of APTA. And you'll be able to ask questions then. In the information that goes out to you today, there will be a contact for you for APTA if you wanted to contact them before that. But is there any questions around that at all before I move on? I can't see you all, so you might.
No, that's all good.
No, nothing in the chat, no hands up.
Okay, all right, super. All right then, let me move on. So, as I said, the whole objective of this amendment was to make sure that the flow of the handbook was easier for you to use. So what John has done is he's reordered the handbook so that the information flows better from section to section, plus all the related information under one heading you will find in the same section now. So previously you had to flip from section to section, or from a section to appendix, because there was so much cross information within the handbook. We've tried to get rid of that now and bring all the information together that you need within each section. So I'm going to very quickly, sorry, I didn't realize I was doing this presentation until quite late. So I'm just going to very quickly go through each section for you. It's not on the slide here, but sections 1 and 2, that is now all about the membership rules. So what you have to do when you want to become an STF member, as a non-assured member and an assured member, and what you have to do ongoing to keep that assured membership. And also the code of practice. So the code of practice is about how the STF operates and how the committee has to operate. That's all in sections 1 and 2. So that's membership rules and also code of practice. Section 3 is all the LOTC quality badge indicators. So they're all the indicators that you have to evidence in your external audit with checkpoints to ensure that we can award you the LOTC quality badge. Now, just a point here, in that the CLOTC are actually reviewing those indicators at the moment. We've had several meetings with them about the new indicators that they're proposing, and the committee met with them yesterday. So just to say at the moment that they are being reviewed, and there will be changes. And as soon as we know what those changes are, we will be amending that section in the handbook and taking you through that section. But please do expect changes there. Section 3, sorry, that was section 3. Section 4 is with regard to the safety management standards, the STF safety management standards. So again, they are now all in one place. So it's the overall objectives of what needs to underline your safety management standards. So that you can find in section 4. So whenever you're reviewing your SMS, please refer to section 4. Section 5 now has all the information you need about your checkpoint external audit. So it's how you go about booking it. It's what you do during the process, what you have to do to pass. That's all in section 5. And I'd just like to take this opportunity to say hello to the checkpoint auditors who are on this call as well. So thank you very much for joining us today. And there's also the how to use the new online system as well. That's also included in the handbook. Section 6 is now everything about training. So it's who needs to take the accommodation training, when and how often, how frequently you have to update it. There's also a new process for validating accommodation auditors. So that is another change. So if you could just look in section 6, when you need somebody to be audited, validated, sorry, to be accommodation auditor, on-site auditor, the new information is in section 6. And then just going on to the appendix. So sections 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 is all the rules and regulations, I suppose. I hate to use those words, but it is the rules and regulations around STF and safety management system. Then you get to the appendix, and the appendix is the nuts and bolts that underpins those overarching SMS objectives. So appendix 1 and 2 are really the nuts and bolts for accommodation and transport. So this is where you will find the core values for health and safety of the STF and the checklists. So you'll find the accommodation checklist and the transport checklist in appendix 1 and 2. We haven't made any major changes here. All we've done is tweak a little bit of wording on the checklist just to make it easier for the suppliers to understand what we're asking for. So Barbara at BSafe has gone through these and just tweaked the wording slightly. So it does mean that they're already in English, but we do need to get them translated. Hillary's going through that at the moment. So certainly within the next couple of weeks, we will have that translated and up on the STF website in the members area. But as I said, no major changes. It's just, again, trying to make it easier for the suppliers when they're filling them in. And also on the online on the on-site checklist, we've changed wording just to make it easier for both you to understand and the supplier to understand. Then in appendix 3, we've brought all the activities together under one roof as well. So all the adventurous activities, ski activities, etc. So they're all together within appendix 3, rather than you again having to flip from section to section in the handbook to try and find all the information for activities. And then finally, appendix 4 covers safeguarding and home hosting. We have made a few minor adjustments to the safeguarding measures in there. But again, whilst we're talking to the CLOTC, one of the major areas they're looking at the moment is safeguarding. So that will most probably have to be updated again within the next few months. What I would say is obviously you have to be looking at your safeguarding procedures on a regular basis. So as and when you're doing your next update, please refer to appendix 4 for information on that. Then we've taken out as much information as we could that wasn't really relevant to you being able to work your safety management system. So anything to do with the committee's names, that's all been taken out. That will be put on the website. Anything to do with costs have been taken out because they change, so that would all be put onto the website as well. So again, it's nothing integral to the safety management system, STF safety management system, but it's just all the bits and pieces that really didn't sit within the handbook, just to make it slightly lighter for you, and again, easier to navigate around. And these would all be done by the end of this week, if not the beginning of next week. And we've also added note pages to the end of each chapter. So sometimes you might be on a webinar, or you might be going through the handbook yourself and thinking, okay, that's a really useful piece of information. So we've just given you areas now to jot down those useful bits of information. And John has also put a don't forget page at the end of each section, and he's taking out some of the criteria that's hidden within that section, which he thinks is pretty important, so that now you've got those within the handbook. And again, if there's something within that section that you want to be reminded of, you can add it to the don't forget navigation aid. We've also, whilst the complaints procedure has not changed, we've just updated the flow chart, hopefully to make it a little bit easier for everybody to understand. And the significant aspects here is that when a complaint comes into us, we review it with two different sets of criteria. If it's a customer service complaint, so if your customer, your school, is complaining that something hasn't been delivered within the itinerary, then first of all, we obviously send you the complaint, let you know about it, so that hopefully you can come to a resolution, and you have 28 days to do that and notify the STF. If you can't resolve that complaint, then we advise the school to go through ABTA and now ABTOP through their arbitration service. So that is the way that customer service complaints will be dealt with. If it's a suspected significant health and safety breach of the STF Code of Practice, we investigate that internally, and John investigates that as an independent outsider, and he will fully investigate that against the STF Code of Practice. It will then go to the committee. The output of John's investigation goes to the committee, and at that stage, it will have to be decided whether there's been a breach of the code of conduct or not. So it's two specific areas that we look at when a customer complaint comes into us. Okay. And these are just examples. You've got the handbook now, so you would have seen examples of the new page design. And basically, again, John's just tried to make it a little bit user-friendly by adding in a few pictures, basically to break up the black text, so it's easier to read and navigate through. And that's an example of the don't forget page and the notes. And lastly, we've still got the handbook change request form in there. And please do use this. If there is something that you feel does need to change in the handbook, then this is the way to propose. This needs to be filled in and then sent into STF admin, into Hillary, and this will be reviewed by the STF committee at the next STF committee meeting. But please also use it if there's certain areas in the handbook that are not clear, and if you feel could be easier to use if it was rewritten. So again, use it for that. If there's any areas that you could feel could be clarified, then please use it for that. And that's something that John and I can deal with. If it's not a change, then we can look at rewriting it to make it a little bit clearer for everybody. And just finally to say that don't forget the technical guides that go with the handbook as well. These are a great source of information, and you will know that APTA have also just released their new APTA technical guide, which again can help you with any kind of questions that you have around health and safety. The Coach technical guide was last issued in 2023, so that doesn't need updating, but we will be updating the STF accommodation technical guide, and we will be reviewing the APTA technical guide against this so that we can make sure that they cross-reference as far as possible. So really, what I wanted to say today is that we're here trying to make life a little bit easier for you. I know it doesn't sound like it, but the whole project was about making everything easier for you to understand, for you to use, and for you to navigate your way around. We hope that we have done that and that you will find the handbook easier to use. We've sent the declaration out to everybody for you to sign and send back to us to say that you have received the handbook and that you will ensure that your staff are up to date with the handbook as well. Again, it's just coming back to post-COVID, new staff, lots of things happening. And this is just a good time for us to focus back onto what we need to be doing operationally. Any questions around that at all?
Nothing in chat or hands.
Okay, all right then. So just going on finally, to help you find your way through a lot of this, we will be confirming some future webinars on training. One will be adventurous activities, and we will do this after August sometime, because we know you're all really busy up until August, then you need a break. So sometime September, October, we will have a webinar around adventurous activities, and we will also be holding a webinar on safeguarding as well. It is a big issue. There's lots of changes that have been made at government level with regards to safeguarding. So it's important for us to keep up to date with this information. So I don't think there's any questions. So finally, just to say that please, I hope you've all got the date of the 24th. Oh, sorry, Joe.
Joanna's just come in.
Hi, can you hear me at all?
Yes, absolutely. Joanna, what was your question?
I hope you don't mind me asking this, because now you're here, it makes sense. With regards to the training that is offered, so the hotel accommodation training, the coach training and the refresher training, I've got a bit confused about how the refresher training is conducted and who that's with.
Okay, so for coach, they're both online. So the new audit training is online, and the refresher training is online.
But for the coach as well.
Yes, so that's by Zoom. So John and Barbara hold a webinar online for coach.
Right. So we don't request that through Checkpoint. That's done.
No, that's through us. So you have to ask Hillary. But basically, we do it twice a year. We do it around March, April time. And then we do it again around September, October.
Okay.
And the dates go out.
Brilliant. Thank you.
And but if you're asking the question, so just refresh again, and then for accommodation, the refresher is an online system that's run by Checkpoint, so that you would have to book through Checkpoint.
Yeah. Okay, great. So So presumably with regards to the transport refreshers, there'll be a date for those coming out at some point.
Yeah, very shortly.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. But thank you for your question. Any other questions at all? I mean, anything at all whilst we're all online? No. Okay. So again, just to remind you about the 21st annual conference on the 24th of November. It's a Friday. We've got a fantastic lineup. So we've got 2 panels. We've got one panel which is everything about financial protection. Chris Boaty, some of you might know Chris in the industry. He's going to be moderating a panel of other industry experts around financial protection and what's happening with the ATOL changes to keep us abreast of that. So that's really important. And then we're going to have a second panel all about transport. And the CPT have agreed to be on that panel. Eurotunnel have agreed to be on that panel, and Dover Port have agreed to be on that tunnel. And plus we're going to get an airline as well. So it's not just about coaching, it will be about air and the future and how we can work together within the educational visit sector. So, and we've got lots of other speakers coming. Obviously, we've got Claire from Kennedy's. So it's going to be a fantastic lineup this year. We're also going to have a big dinner afterwards in a very posh hotel down the road. We've got an after dinner speaker. We've got other surprise guests popping up. So it's going to be a big launch. It's going to, we're really going to celebrate 21 years of the STF, because I think the job that the STF have done over that period has been absolutely incredible. And we should all celebrate that. And it's just such a nice way for you all to come together and meet up and network as well. So please put it in your diary. And let Hilary know, first come, first served, let Hilary know if you would like to come along to the conference.
Yeah.
Okay, is there anything else at all? Yes, Stuart.
Yeah, just one question about the CLOTC changes. Do you anticipate that will have a knock-on effect of changes to the questions in our annual audit as well?
Yeah,
it will do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Do you know when you anticipate those might be coming out, those changes, just so we can plan on? We're already starting to prep some of our audit work. So
Yeah. It will happen by the review will finish in August, and so we would expect the new questions to be out by September time. Okay. And in the STF external audits. We don't expect any major changes, but there will be changes.
Great, no, that's great, thank you.
I don't know if the committee want to comment on that at all. No, okay, fine. No, only because they're members and they've seen the subjects that are in the questions. But anyway, no, don't worry about it. No massive changes, and we will give you plenty of notice. And we will, if we feel that any training is required around them, then we will give training as well. So yeah, please don't stop. Please don't stop what you're doing.
Will do.
Okay. But thank you so much for your question. Has anybody had a chance to look at the handbook? Does anybody feel that it is an improvement? Will it make your life a little bit easier? I know you've only had it for a couple of days, so maybe not. No, okay. All right then. Well, again, thank you so much for joining me today. Really do appreciate it. And, again, I know you're incredibly busy. So if you do have any questions now that you have the handbook, actually, sorry, one thing I did mean to say, Section 2 will be reissued to you in print format. There was a mistake made, hands up. So we do have to reprint and send out Section 2 to you, which you can slot into your file. But that's the only thing that needs to change in going forward. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Take care.
Thanks, Jill. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Jill. Thank you.
Bye.